You are not stuck. You are staying. And Neville Goddard spent his life trying to get people to feel the difference between those two sentences, because everything turns on it. Think about the last time you said, "I am anxious," or "I am behind," or the quiet one, the one that feels the most true, "I am just the kind of person things do not work out for." Notice what you did. You took a mood, a passing condition, a weather system moving through you, and you stamped your own name on it. You said, "I am." And the moment you say "I am" to a state, it stops feeling like a place you are standing and starts feeling like the person standing. Here is the claim this video is going to make, and I want you to stay skeptical of it until it earns you. The thing you have been calling your identity is not your identity. It is a state. And a state is a room. You have been standing in it so long that the walls stopped looking like walls and started looking like the edge of the world. By the end of these next few minutes, you are going to understand something specific, not vague, not inspirational. You are going to understand what a state actually is, why you cannot see the one you are in, and how a person walks out of it. Not next year, not once you finally fix yourself, tonight. The door was never locked. You just forgot it was a door.
Let me give you the exact idea, in the exact shape Neville gave it, because it is stranger than the self-help version you have heard. In his 1952 book, The Power of Awareness, Neville laid out what he called the doctrine of states of consciousness. And the strange part is this: he did not teach that you create your states. He taught the opposite. The states already exist, all of them, the way rooms in a house already exist whether or not anyone is standing in them. There is the state of wealth and the state of poverty, the state of the man things always work out for and the state of the man they never do, the state of the beloved and the state of the rejected. They are all standing there, permanent, furnished, waiting. You do not build them, you enter them. Neville taught that a man is a being who moves from state to state, but the states themselves remain. This is the piece almost everyone skips, and it is the piece that sets you free. If you built the state of feeling stuck, then getting out means demolishing something, and demolition is slow and it is bloody. But you did not build it, you walked into it, and a room you walked into is a room you can walk out of. That reframe is the whole game. Not how do I fix this thing that is wrong with me? The question becomes, which room am I currently standing in, and did I mean to be here? Now here is where it gets precise. And here is where people lose their whole lives. The trap was never the state itself. Every human being passes through dark states. You are allowed to feel stuck. You are allowed to have a week where the state of defeat is the room you woke up in. That is not the problem, and any channel that tells you a good person never feels this is selling you something. The trap is forgetting that it is a state at all. Watch how the sentence mutates. It starts as, "I feel stuck." That is honest. That is a report from a room. But leave it alone for a month and it quietly changes into, "I am stuck." And leave that alone and it hardens into the deadliest version of all. I am a stuck person. This is who I am. This is just me being realistic about myself. Do you hear what happened? A location became an identity. A room became a self. You stopped saying you were in the dark and started saying you were made of it. And the instant that happens, the room disappears. You cannot leave a room you can no longer see. You will spend years trying to feel better inside four walls you have stopped believing are walls because you think they are your bones. Neville's entire correction is one move. He puts the walls back. He makes the room visible again by refusing to let you say, "I am" to it. You are not stuck. You are, for now, standing in the state of stuckness. And the word standing is the most hopeful word in this whole video, because a thing that is standing can walk.
So, if you are not the state, then what are you? This is the second half of the doctrine, and it is the half that does the lifting. You are the occupant. You are the one aware of the state. Sit with that for a second, because there is a simple proof hiding inside it. You can say, "I notice I am feeling defeated." The moment you say that, look at what just happened. There is the defeat, and there is the one noticing the defeat. Those cannot be the same thing. The eye that sees the room is not the room. The one who is aware of the mood is standing at a distance from it, however small, and that distance is the exit. Neville called the deepest name for that occupant, I am. Not I am anxious, not I am poor, not I am too late, just I am, before any state attaches to it. That awareness is you. Everything after it, every I am something, is just the room you happen to be furnishing at the moment. This is why he insisted you are what you are conscious of being. Not what you wish, not what you deserve, what you are, right now, willing to be conscious of being. You are wearing a state the way you are wearing a coat, and you have confused the coat for your skin. It comes off. It always came off. Before we go further, I want to hand you something to carry into the rest of this video. Right now, quietly, name the state you have been living in as if it were you. Put it into one honest sentence and leave it in the comments. The state I have been mistaking for myself is, not to complain, to see the walls. Naming the room is the first inch of walking out of it.
Here is a fair question. If a state is just a room, how did you end up living in the worst one on the floor without ever choosing it? You moved in the way anyone moves anywhere, by habit, by repetition, by standing in a doorway long enough that it became an address. Think about how the state of things never work out for me gets furnished. Something goes wrong. You feel it, which is correct. But then you rehearse it. You tell the story of it in your head on the drive home. You tell it to a friend. You wake at 3 in the morning and tell it to the ceiling. Every telling is another night spent in that room. And consciousness does what consciousness always does. It faithfully renders whatever room you keep sleeping in. This is the part of Neville that is almost cruel in its fairness. He said imagination occupying a state and dwelling in it as real is what brings that state to pass. In his 1954 book, Awakened Imagination, that is the whole engine. The inner dwelling becomes the outer fact, which sounds like a curse until you turn it over, because the same law that built the trap is the only tool strong enough to open it. You occupied your way in, you can occupy your way out. Nothing about the mechanism is against you. It never had a preference. It just delivers the address you keep giving it.
I want to prove to you that you can do this, and I am not going to use a technique to do it. I am going to use your own memory, because you have moved states 100 times and never called it that. You have walked into a room in a foul, defeated mood, certain the day was over, and one phone call, one piece of good news, one person's face, and 30 seconds later, you were in an entirely different world. Same body, same bank account, same unsolved problems sitting exactly where you left them, but you were not the same person because you were not in the same state. You changed rooms in the space of a breath. Everyone has felt this. The mood that owned you completely at 9 in the morning is gone by noon, and you cannot even reconstruct why it felt so total. That is the doctrine demonstrated on you for free your whole life. States are not permanent residents. They are guests you keep mistaking for the owner of the house. So when a state whispers that it is forever, that this is just how things are now, you already have the counter-evidence. You have left this exact kind of room before, involuntarily, by accident, dozens of times. The only thing Neville is proposing is that you learn to do it on purpose. If this is resonating, subscribe and stay with me. There is a lot more of this work here, and it builds.
Then why is it so hard? If leaving is this simple, why does the state feel like a life sentence? Because every state defends itself, and it defends itself with the most convincing weapon there is. It makes itself feel like truth. This is the thing to understand about the room you are in. It does not feel like a mood. It feels like clear sight. When you are inside the state of defeat, defeat does not announce itself as a temporary state. It presents itself as finally seeing your life accurately. It says, this is not a bad mood. This is just you being honest at last. Every other state suddenly looks like a lie you were telling yourself. And this one, this gray one, looks like maturity. That is the trap sealing itself from the inside. A state you believe is a mood you can question. A state you believe is the truth about your life you defend. You will actually argue for it. You will bat away good news. You will find the flaw in the opportunity. Because on some level you are protecting your address.
and the room has convinced you that leaving would be delusion. Hear this clearly. The feeling of certainty that a state gives you is not evidence that it is true. It is evidence that you are deep inside it. The deeper the room, the more it feels like the world. And the version of you that feels the most permanent, the most factual, the most just how I am, is not the real you. It is simply the room you have stood in the longest.
So people try to change, of course they do, but almost everyone tries to change in the one way that cannot work, and it is worth naming so you stop wasting years on it. They try to fix the state from inside the state. Picture it. You are standing in the room of I am behind, I am not enough, and you decide to improve. So you make plans, you make lists, you push, you strive, all of it from inside that room. But every plan you make in there is soaked in the room. The striving smells of the lack that is making you strive. You are decorating the walls of the exact place you are trying to leave and calling it progress. And a year later, you are more tired and standing in precisely the same room, now with nicer furniture. Neville's move is not to renovate the room, it is to change rooms. You leave the state of lack instead of working harder inside it. You relocate your consciousness to a different state entirely, and you let the new room do what the old one was doing, which is express itself faithfully in your outer life. The effort was never the problem. Plenty of stuck people are working themselves to the bone. The problem is the address the effort is being launched from. Change the address first, then the same effort lands somewhere else.
Now the hard part, because I promised you this would be honest and not just warm. Every single day you occupy a state, your outer world moves to confirm it. That is not a threat. It is just the mechanism running, and it does not take breaks while you decide whether you believe it. The state of things never work out for me does not sit quietly and wait. It goes to work. It shapes what you notice, which chances you reach for and which you let slide by, how you walk into the interview, what your face does when opportunity knocks, and slowly, faithfully, the outer world hands you back exactly the evidence the room ordered. Then you look at that evidence and you say, "See, I was right. This really is who I am." And the room laughs, because you just re-signed the lease with your own signature. This is why someday is the most expensive word in your vocabulary. Someday I will feel differently. Someday, when things improve, I will be able to occupy a better state. But the things will not improve first. They cannot. They are downstream of the state. The circumstance is the echo, and you are standing there waiting for the echo to change before you are willing to change the shout. Every day inside the old state is another day of the outer world being carefully instructed to keep you there, which is exactly why the answer cannot be someday. It has to be tonight.
So let me give you the exit, plainly, no waiting. Moving states is not something you achieve, it is something you assume. You do not earn your way into the new room by becoming worthy of it. You occupy it now, in imagination, and you occupy it as already true. Here's how it actually works tonight. Decide the state you want to live in, not the thing you want, the state of the person for whom that thing is already normal. Not I want the money, but the settled, unremarkable feeling of the one who is simply secure, for whom money is a solved and boring question. Then find the single scene that would only be real if you were already in that state. A friend's voice saying the words they would only say if it had happened. A handshake, the particular weight of relief in your chest when the thing is finally done. Neville had a name for the doorway into this. He called it the state akin to sleep, SATS. That drowsy, heavy threshold right before sleep, when the body is still and the mind stops arguing. In that quiet, you enter the scene and you live it from the inside as real, not watching yourself from across the room, inside it, feeling it with your senses until it has the solidity of memory instead of the thinness of a wish. This is Neville's living in the end. You do not rehearse the wanting, you occupy the having. That is the whole move. You went to sleep in one state and you gave your consciousness a different room to render. You did not fix anything, you changed address.
And the mechanism that spent years faithfully confirming the old room will now, with the same obedience, begin confirming the new one.
Let me tell you what to expect, because the first night in a new state is disorienting, and most people mistake the disorientation for failure and crawl back to the old room. You will wake up tomorrow, and the old state will still be standing there, at the door, familiar, patient, holding your coat. It will feel more real than the state you assumed last night, and of course it does. You have lived in it for years, and you visited the new one once. Do not read that as proof it did not work. Read it as exactly what leaving feels like. The old room does not vanish because you stopped renting it. It waits to see if you meant it. So you assume the new state again and again, not with strain, not by white-knuckling positivity, but by quietly returning to the room that feels like the answer instead of the room that feels like the problem. You catch yourself telling the old story at 3 in the morning, and you gently decline to finish it. You are not fighting the old state. You are just no longer sleeping there. And here is what you will notice first, before anything changes on the outside. Your reactions change. Something goes wrong, and the old you would have taken it as one more proof of the permanent room, and instead it just slides off. It does not confirm anything anymore, because you are no longer standing in the state that was collecting that evidence. That is the first sign you actually moved, not the circumstances, the way the circumstances land on you. So let me leave you where this whole thing has been pointing. You are not the anxious one. You are not the person things do not work out for. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are not, at the deepest level, any of the states you have been introducing yourself as. Those are rooms. You are the one who has been standing in them, and standing means you are always free to walk. The state you woke up in this morning is not a verdict on your life. It is an address. And the strange, almost unbearable freedom in what Neville taught is that you were never sentenced to it. You were staying, out of habit, out of forgetting, out of the room convincing you it was the whole world. But the door was never locked. It was never even closed. You just stopped seeing it as a door. Tonight you get to test that. Not someday, not once you understand yourself better, not after the circumstances finally shift. Tonight, in the quiet before sleep, you get to choose the room you fall asleep in. That is the entire practice. That is the whole of it. Move states on purpose and let the outer world catch up the way it always does. If one line in this video landed somewhere real, tell me which one below, and tell me the state you are choosing to walk into tonight. And if you want to keep walking this out together, subscribe. The next room is the reason to stay.